Good afternoon, everybody. Hope we're doing fantastically well, and welcome back to the latest video on the Will the Games YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Wildcard Draft, what I've kind of put together, but mainly we're going to focus a lot around the fixtures that we should be targeting if you are looking to wildcard in Matchday 2. So really, when you wildcard in Matchday 2, we'll be looking forward to Matchday 2, but then the big two match days to look forward to, I think, in my opinion, is match day 3 and 4. Your wildcard should be setting you up for those 3 game weeks or match days as a bare minimum, and then you can go from there with a limitless or however you want to do it in the last few match days. But before we jump into the video, appreciate all the support we've had on the previous videos, the one we put out yesterday from last week as well. Doing fantastic, and I really appreciate everyone who's viewing those, and don't forget to like or subscribe. They're both completely free, and it really helps the channel just get out there and just get exposed to other people, so that really helps the channel grow, and I'd really thank you for any support you can give on that. So let's not delay, and we're going to jump into it. So we're going to talk about the fixtures that I think we should be targeting if you're on a wildcard. We did a limitless video yesterday. Check the link out for that in the description, or check out the channel for that if you're on a limitless and you think that's the best strategy for you. In my opinion, a limitless for this week is probably the best strategy, but wildcard is also a decent strategy, and it has some gains, especially in match day 3 or 4, and you've also got a limitless to play later on. So I've no objection to either strategy. I personally prefer the limitless, but wildcard is also a legitimate strategy, so we're going to look at that today. So with the wildcard, I think match day 3 and 4, planning towards that, are also important. Obviously, you want to have a good match day 2 squad, but you also need to look along for all of the game weeks that we're talking about. So for this discussion, I'm going to talk about certain teams that have favourable fixture run across 2, 3 and 4. So if we look down the fixtures here to start with, Inter is one of the strange ones, because if you're on a limitless, I'd target Inter, but for a wild card you might want one Inter player on there, but I don't like Inter's fixtures in match day 3 and 4, so they're probably a void for me. Maybe one, like I said, maybe a defender, but they're a void for me. And especially on this first match day, I don't see a lot of teams that really jump out to me. The one that does majorly jump out to me is Bayern Munich, because if we look here at Bayern Munich, they've got Barcelona in match day 2, difficult game. But the thing that persuades me towards Bayern Munich is if you look at match day 3 and 4, you can see them the first match of match day 2, they're against Pilsen. So the thing with match day 3 and 4 is the same teams play each other. So Bayern will also play Pilsen in match day 2, match day 4, should I say. So Bayern, looking for match day 3 and 4, are just essential to have triple upon, in my opinion. So Bayern, they're at home to Barcelona, which isn't the most favourable fixture. If you're in a limitless, I would not target it, but you might have one asset from there in a limitless. But moving forward on a wildcard, I would have triple Bayern, even if it wasn't just the benefit of this fixture. For match day 3 and 4 is fantastic. So similar to that, we'll see on the next day of fixtures, there's other teams to target. I don't mind Liverpool if you're on a wildcard. I've been tempted to put Salah in there, but then he's come out again. But I'm not against having Liverpool in there because they have Ajax and then double Rangers, but I'm not big on Liverpool's form at the minute. So they're a bit of a wait and see for me, and there could be potentially someone we bring in match day 3 or 4 if we're unsure about any of our midfielders, for example, like a Vinicius or someone like that. Swapping to a Salah is quite viable to go into the next few match days. You have to think with a wild card, obviously you're setting up for the next 3 match days, even beyond, but you also get the 2 transfers in between each game week, so you can still make changes to this wild card as you go through. So Bayern is the main one that features there. Chelsea, I'm not overly convinced by. They've got a nice game week 2 fixture, but game week 3 and 4 they're playing Milan, which I don't factor into my thinking for this wildcard. Real Madrid, I think, is another one of the teams that you should be looking to target. They've got a nice fixture in 3 and 4 against, I believe, Shakhtar Donetsk, which they can be do well at home, but away from home, not fantastic. And Leipzig this season, although they did just win on Saturday, have not been great at all. So Real Madrid against Leipzig, I'll be targeting there. The issue with Real Madrid is that Benzema is out, injured currently. It could be between a week and a month. We're totally unsure on that. But hopefully by the time you get to match day 3 and 4, he might be available and we bring him in then. But now I'd just be looking at Vinicius and maybe someone outside of that. I know a few people have gone for a Modric. I'm not fully convinced by Madrid's shout, but I'd maybe back it up with a defender like Alaba, someone who could get you some returns maybe. But Real Madrid, another one to target there. Probably not triple up one or two assets. Quite nice going on a wild card. We're getting a nice run here where I'd say Man City, again, fantastic option going forward. There's a fantastic option in any fantasy game at the minute. They've got a nice run. They've got Dortmund here at home, which I would back them to do pretty well in. Dortmund might score, but I think City will do very well in that fixture. Haaland is probably going to be a staple in the majority of teams going forward. And then Matchday 3 and 4, they've got their easier fixtures in the group, so that's a nice one to go for there. Another team I quite like moving forward is Juve. Benfica is a semi-difficult game. Benfica are a lot better at home than they are away, so Juve in the next run of fixtures look nice because again they've got a nice Matchday 3 and 4 compared to other people in the group, so that's definitely a go-to for me. They had PSG in the first game, it was difficult, but then Juve will play Haifa in match stage 3 and 4, which is the kind of, I don't like to say whipping boys of the group, but definitely the most easy fixture you will get in that group because Benfica and PSG are quite difficult. So I'm very tempted to buy a few Juve assets, especially in defence. A bit uncertain about their midfield and attackers, so defence for Juve is somewhere that I will be looking to go. And then the final team I think is a big target on the wildcard is of course PSG. I'm not as sold on PSG on a wildcard because I think their match day 3 and 4 fixtures against Benfica can be quite difficult. On a Limitless they're fantastic because I think they'll absolutely smash Haifa in match day 2, but match day 3 and 4 against Benfica won't be as easy as you think it will be, I don't think, in my opinion. So PSG, I think 1 or 2 assets from them will be quite good, but I wouldn't go in overboard. So that highlights quite a few players that, should I say teams that we could target there. So we're going to go up and have a look at the kind of team I'd be planning towards, and we'll look at the fixtures a bit in more detail when we're looking at the players. So this is kind of a draft that I've brought up for here. Please ignore the captaincy because when you're drafting this, you cannot change the captain. But just touching on when we come into the next game week, if you look at the dates on here, the games that are on the 13th aren't that appealing to me. So I think the main captaincy shout would be a Bayern player for the first match day. So probably I'd go for Mane because he's also on penalties, and I'm surprised he's classed as a midfielder on this game. But I think Bayern would be the captaincy shout for the first game. But so if we start with Bayern, as we spoke about with Bayern earlier, they've got Poulsen in match day 3 and 4. So for me, they're a must-have going into those 2 fixtures. So Barcelona might not be a lot of goals for Bayern, but I still think they'll do quite well in that game. So we just need to look past that fixture and see that we're going to get the benefit of match day 3 and 4 when you're on a wild card. So for me, Sane, Mane, and I had a bit of a debate about the Bayern defensive asset. There's been a bit of rotation even at centre back. I was looking at De Ligt, but De Ligt is also the same price as Alphonso Davies. So I think Alphonso Davies would be in there for me. Obviously, like I said, the captaincy will not be staying on him. But yeah, going forward, you'd expect them to do pretty decently, being able to keep a clean sheet against Poulsen, and then any other attacking returns on top of that would be fantastic. And Alphonso Davies, for me, is probably the one that's more likely to be involved in the attacking side of the play. So that sums up Bayern. So if we talk about Man City, I think it's quite obvious the picks for Man City. Haaland and Cancelo are in the team. As we mentioned, I think they'll do pretty well against Dortmund, and they've got Copenhagen back-to-back. Again, fantastic fixtures. The only hesitation I have about City is maybe those Copenhagen fixtures could be the time they get rotated. But apart from that, I'd be quite confident on the Man City assets. I believe, on the match day 4, their fixture is the early fixture as well, so we will get team news. So if we wanted to take a Man City asset out in match day 4, they might have won 3 out of 3 and not need even to get a win from that last fixture, might just need a draw to go through. So that's one to watch out for. So I've got Haaland and Cancelo in there, and I've been slightly tempted by Sergio Gomez here because, especially these Copenhagen games, they look like they should be easier fixtures for Man City. So Kyle Walker's currently out injured, and they're having a few injuries in defence, Man City. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sergio Gomez gets quite a lot of time in the UCL, and it should be a bit more technical compared to the Premier League, and it might be a good way for him to adjust to the City system by playing in Europe mainly. So he's a bit of a shout for me there. The only issue I have with having him as the third City asset is he locks me out from other assets if I want to take a punt on someone like a match day 4. But The fact that it's 4 million as well, you can't really go wrong. A City defender at 4 million, it's just the issue if he doesn't play, but I quite like that as a nice little slight differential. Not a huge upside, but you never know, could get involved in some attacking play. So that covers Man City there. Another team we said to target up here, PSG. I've currently only gone with one PSG player, which is Mbappe. This could easily be interchangeable for a Neymar. It's totally up to how you fancy the PSG assets at the minute. So for me, Matchday 2 is fantastic, but then Matchday 3 and 4, especially Matchday 3, which is at Benfica, I think those games will be harder than you believe they will be. So I think for me, one asset is enough for me there, and then spreading the risk across the other options. If you want to go further on a PSG attack, you could get rid of Mane, for example, downgrade the midfield, and then go for another attacking option. If I see PSG even being able to destroy Benfica away from home, then coming back match day 4, I would be transferring in probably another PSG asset. But PSG definitely want to target, but I'm just not overly sold on that Benfica run. When you look on paper, these 4 fixtures look fantastic, but I'm not completely sold on going all in on the PSG assets. I might get another one in there, but I won't be going triple up. I'm not overly convinced by their defence at all, and I think they're quite vulnerable at the back. So we move on to how we because the issue with a wildcard team is you've also got to factor in those cheaper players. So, for example, in midfield, we've got Florentino from Benfica, who is very good in terms of ball recoveries, and just the value of him at 4.5, the cheapest you can get in midfield, which is a fantastic option. We saw Kudos do fantastic for Ajax in the first match day. He got 1 goal, 1 assist, and also player of the match to get 14 points. He's got quite a difficult run here with Liverpool and Napoli, but the fact he is 5 million, and he also in the league match on Saturday scored 2 goals to back up his performance, so he's on a great run of form. We expect him to play, and especially on match day, on the first match, the first match day in the 2 match days we have in this set of fixtures, he's not a bad option for the first day as well, and I think you just try and get some points from him. Might not be fantastic in getting points returns, but at 5 million and the form is on at the minute, you can't go far wrong. And then to complete the midfield, we mentioned about Real Madrid earlier. I think if Benzema was fit, I'd probably have Benzema in here and try squeezing in there instead of Vinicius. Currently got Vinicius in there, as we mentioned. They've got Leipzig, who haven't been very strong defensively at all. And then you've got back-to-back Shakhtar Donetsk, which I think can be some more great fixtures there for Real. I wouldn't be dismissive if you wanted to put a Real defender in here either. And then, like I said, if it comes to match day 3 and 4 and I see Benzema's back, you probably want to get him in there as well. The double up, I think Vinicius and Benzema link up quite well. Vinicius was probably the last pick in this team. I was very stuck between Mane, Vinicius and Salah. So I would not be against Salah being in this position. The thing I think about Vinicius is that he's obviously the best attacker in Real Madrid's team when Benzema is out, but I feel like some of his attacking input might be lowered because he's not got that link-up play with Benzema. So I think that midfield is the one more up for debate in there. So it's an interesting set of premiums that you can choose to mix and match in there. And then if we move down to the goalkeeper and the bench, so we've got the Juve goalkeeper in there for, I think he's 4 million, isn't he? Which is fantastic value that Szczesny's currently out. So there is a possibility that Szczesny will come back at some stage later in the group stage. But if you look at their Benfica and then 2 easier fixtures in match day 3 and 4 and then Benfica again. So for me, at 4 million, you just have him in there and it just sits there. If he doesn't play, then you might transfer him out down the line, but then you've always got another keeper that you can bring in. So very much like the Juve fixtures, I was very tempted on this fixture run here. Benfica aren't as good away from home. So I think there's a clean sheet there for Juve, and then you could also get back-to-back clean sheets here. I was very tempted to go triple Juventus defence. I've currently settled on Perrin and Cuadrado. So Cuadrado is also 5 million, which is a decent value for a Juve player. And he's also known as being a winger, so he can definitely get involved in attacks depending on if they play a wing-back formation, which they tend to at Juve. There's also Kostic, who plays the other side, who I'm quite tempted by, who was in my original plans, but I just couldn't fit all the players in. So I had to do a few tweaks around to get everyone in this wildcard team. It's quite difficult when you've got to think about the value, because if you look at the value here, they're all cheap options. And we've got the cheap options in midfield as well. So then moving on to the rest of the bench, you've got the goalkeeper here, Mignolet, which is again, I've just gone for the double cheap midfield. They also got a clean sheet in the first game, Club Brugge, and when I look at the Club Brugge group, I don't expect Club Brugge to like storm this group and qualify, but I think all the fixtures in this group will be quite tight, and there's a few clean sheets in there for Club Brugge. Porto, I could see they're getting clean sheets, although it's away from home. Atletico Madrid aren't known for scoring a lot of goals. So as a backup goalkeeper, I don't mind it, in hope that Perrin will start a lot of the games. So if you get further down the line where Perrin is potentially not in the team because of Chesney, I would think about getting a better goalkeeper in. But at the minute, I'm quite happy with the two value goalkeepers, and I think between them, they can hopefully salvage a clean sheet over all of the match days for us. And then the other two picks in the team are very much value picks. They got Tavares from Marseille. Again, I quite like their group in the fact that I don't see a lot of goals and a lot of I think all the games will be competitive, let me put that. I don't think there's going to be like a 4-0 between these next fixtures. You could say Spurs are a bit more difficult, but then Marseille are at home. So I think Tavares is one of those players that you can keep in your team the whole the whole group stage. And then you won't have to worry about that position, especially at 4 million. It's just fantastic value. And then you've got your last forward in here, which again is from Club Brugge, as we touched on earlier with the goalkeeper. I'm going to say Jutla. Jutla might be completely wrong pronunciation, but he's been in great form over the start of the season. And at 5.5 million, he's just enabling other players in the team. But as we mentioned earlier, you could easily make like a few changes in your midfield. You might take Vinicius out later on in the group stage and then look to get Benzema in that place and then just getting a cheaper midfielder. So for me, it's got a decent amount of balance in the squad. There's a few other players you could target, as we mentioned, like a Salah. You might want to go further on to the PSG assets, but I think this gives you a good balance, and there's quite a lot of players that you won't have to worry about throughout the rest of the group stage. Because assuming you're a wildcard in now, I would suggest that Limitless in either Matchday 5 or 6, depending on how your team's looking, would be the optimal play for you. So I think this gives you a decent little balance. The only thing I don't particularly like about this match day coming up is the balance between the first day and the second day within the match day. You've not got a lot of players playing on the 13th, you're just relying on those Bayern players, but I see the second day being a lot more high scoring than the first day over this match day. But yeah, guys, that gives you a good idea of what I'll be targeting if you was on a wild card this week, and I don't mind the strategy of having a wild card. I think last season I played the wild card around this stage, and it's definitely a viable strategy going forward. And best of luck to you for match day 2 and beyond if you go for this strategy. And as I said at the start of the video, guys, I appreciate if you've lasted this long and got all the way through the video. If you could like and subscribe to the video, that would really help the channel, and we will be back for match day 3, looking at some of the strategies, what could go forward into that, and we may also do a bit of a build-up like deadline stream towards match day 2, so watch out for that as well. But for now, have a great rest of your day, guys, and like I said, great luck in match day 2. See you later.